Good evening. This resolution is aimed largely at keeping the youth center open for the next 6 months. And during that time, we are going to be issuing an RFP for an operator for the youth center. It's also going to allow us to perform capital repairs at the youth center that are needed. I think what needs to be concentrated on now is that we will be increasing the controls over the operator during the 6 month times along the lines that we would have expected the future operator to produce its work, and it will include information from the operator about attendance, their programming, their staffing, as well as a 6 month budget of all funds necessary to operate the center, and we will be doing drop-ins. So along that, I would like to ask the board to authorize $100,000 in funds for the next 6 months of the fiscal year 2018, and I'll open it up for questions.
I'm respectful of that language you put in about how we're going to monitor their various operations and expenses during the 6 month period. And I think it was a very apt response to some points raised by Mike in a public email he shared with his fellow board members. I assume it's public, it's confidential, but he raised all these issues, and I'm glad to see that you responded to them in terms of the language, because they're very applicable to the questions he had.
Well, I've received a great deal of feedback from the community, and I think some folks that would like to probably address the board and their experiences with, I'm not sure how many more.
With what? I'm sorry?
A lot of public comment about this particular RFP, and I would probably, I know we're kind of pressed for time, but I would probably suggest if, before we vote on this, if we hear from the community briefly, as quickly as possible, on this issue before we vote.
Well, I have a question for our staff. I guess, if we vote this down, where does that leave us in terms of having a youth center between now and whenever we complete the RFP?
Well, let me just say something also about this resolution. Prior to bringing this resolution to the board, the Chief Financial Officer, myself, Sean, I think you were there, Jack, Lou, General Counsel, and I met with the Executive Director of the Youth Center, as well as with one of the board members. We went through all of the things that are presented to you, both in terms of the amount of money, the fact that what we would be requesting of him in terms of information on a regular basis that we would be monitoring in a different way than has been monitored in the past. I think it was a very good meeting. I'm sorry he's not here. I don't see either Charlie or Steve here tonight, but it was a very good meeting. I think there was a complete agreement on their part, and they were, I think, please correct me if you didn't view it that way, but it was a very positive meeting, and pleased to move forward right now along those lines. In terms of, I know there's been a lot of public outcry about what happened. I think what I'd like to say about that is that our sole interest is to have the best operator for the children of our community. The process we followed was the process of New York State guidelines. We made a decision, which we had an absolute right to do, that the process was somewhat corrupted by bidders making communications while the process was pending. Even without that, RIOC has the discretion to withdraw a RFP at any point. We also learned a lot of things during the process, a lot of things about the way a youth center could operate, which caused us to say to ourselves, gee, we could have improved our RFP a little bit, and let's do that. Also, we don't have, within our organization, expertise on children's services. So Jacqueline Flug reached out to one of the New York State entities, the Office of Child and Family Services, and asked them if they would participate in our RFP and revising the RFP and in rating the RFP in in order to get the rating away from us, frankly, because there's just too many people hitting us with hearsay and rumor, and frankly, we don't want to be involved in that. We want someone who does have expertise to rate in accordance with qualifications, experience, financial wherewithal, staffing, programming, and so forth. So that's our plan, and in that regard, we did not want to close down this youth center. We brought Charlie in. We actually had Charlie, I think, do more than one meeting with our engineering people to talk about what the building needs, because frankly, the building is a disgrace for our children. It has been totally ignored for years, and we have, Catherine has been working on a scope of work that's the biggest laundry list I've ever seen. We'll probably be going out with separate RFPs, one for the roof and one for the windows, and I know Sirio has spent, I don't know how many hours going through that building, and so we have a lot of work to do. I want to go out with the RFP for this spring to start construction. Charlie's going to be working with us to move the kids around as we do things in the building. So I think we have a plan that will work, and I'm pleased that we're finally going to fix up that facility. So I support this resolution. I ask you to vote for it.
Did you get a positive response from the state people that you reached out to?
The response was positive that they will aid us, and actually hoping to speak with them tomorrow about more specifications and regulations that go into running the youth center to improving the RFP.
Have you had any negotiations with the city and their programs, and what has been their responses and their work with both, because of the commingling between the Beacon program and the youth center program, and how all that plays out for providing services to the kids in the island? And what has been their response?
I've spoken with one of the deputy commissioners.
And what was their
and
response?
Their position was that Beacon program and the youth center program in their mind is completely separate. Their money is not to be used at the youth center. They don't really care whether there's two different entities running these two different programs. And frankly, that has helped us in trying to improve the RFP, because we don't want duplication of services either. That doesn't make any sense. So they told us they're going out with an RFP, and that RFP was supposed to be out next week. I don't know if it's still happening. I don't know if
It's scheduled for February 23rd, release due in April, and they're aiming to have September 1st as the beginning of the contract date.
But that will have nothing to do with what we're going to be doing in the youth center. We've sat with the principal of 217 to discuss the issue you just raised, Michael, and she understands that, it's her understanding that the Beacon program is separate and distinct from the youth center. We may want to start our some of our services when the Beacon programs end, or try to coordinate the two programs so that there isn't duplication and that we're not, that we're filling gaps that the Beacon program isn't doing. But again, we never cared if the youth center in the past used the money that this board approved for the Beacon program. As long as we got proof of what the money was used for and was used for the children, it's not one of our prerequisites that the money only be used in the youth center while there was one operator operating both. Now that may change, and you may say you don't think it should be that way, but I'm open to...
Coordination of the programs isn't the issue. There have been, this has been a rather local contentious project over a decade or more of challenges. So that's why there's some significant concerns. I'm not sure if anyone in the public is willing to address the board. Leave it open. I know you don't.
I'm looking at you, Michael.
Yeah, like
This is
you don't
not a
want to do
public
that?
forum. but I leave it to our chairman.
Say no.
Again, I think we have a process in place. If folks want to speak to the board, they come before the board meeting at the period we had. And so that's the time for those types of discussions.
Well, I'm just going to reiterate, I'm not unaware of some of the issues. The corporation tried to resolve this process through a bidding process, resolve these issues through the bidding process. It didn't work for the reasons the president just stated, and so the corporation is going back to the drawing board. That's a thing. The other thing is, and the reason for this vote today, this action, is that in the meantime, we have to keep the youth center open, even if we're not totally satisfied with the way it's been run in the past. And we have to do it with the sound monitoring of expenses, operations, and stuff like that, for lack of a technical term. And I think that this,
That's what the presentation said we were doing, right?
Correct.
yeah. So, okay, I'll move it, if it's time to move it.
All right.
Second.
Okay, second?
Second.
Second, okay. Vote.
Mr. Valea?
Aye.
Ms. Lewandowski? Mr. Kraut?
All right?
Mr. Colby?
Aye.
Mr. Shanzaki?
No.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
The motion passes.